Yeah, so that was game changing because I went from, just dealing with IT folks to now being in front of CIOs. Here again, this kid, from
From
Virginia Beach, from the hood,
right.
now I'm polishing up and I'm Dave Gregory, I'm changing up the way I'm talking and this and
David
that.
K. Gregory the
David
second.
K. Gregory the second, and I'm in here talking to, the associate CIO at Comcast about how to strengthen security in a specific area,
Wow, that's big.
or I did an engagement for like Tropicana in New Jersey. Right. Wow. And I'm up there telling them how to, harden their network infrastructure. Right. Large companies, I'm in front of CIOs talking to these guys, man. And that was a whole different ball game because it showed me how to move around that level of individual.
Yeah. Our parents give us love, affection, and projection. The vision of who we're destined to be, free. The price we pay is the pain we endure. Never in vain, though. For our passion is our fuel. School of hard knocks. Distance learning our pension. Earning every shift, our gifts make room for us, by us. Playing our position, keeping the dream in motion. Promotion comes from he who stands in the gap, real rap. Everything we envision needs provision and protection. This is for the resurrection of a people till we equal. Correction, we're already beyond it. Obstacles unimaginable, look how we responded. Potential unfathomable, yet we find ignorance appealing. Ceiling, self-imposed. Till we stop feeling and acting worthless on the mother shows, truth be told is about purpose. This is how the story goes. All right, so it's another episode of Truth Be Told. I'm the host, Calhoun Speaks. You can hit me up at IG, Calhoun Speaks. Twitter, Calhoun Speaks. All over social media, Calhoun Speaks. I'm here with Mr. Gregory, the man himself. We're here to talk about his business, APTNEXUS, yes. And he's doing the big things. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. We're just going to get started real light, and then we're going to move into it. So, all right, man. Do a little wordplay. If I say a word, you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh, man, this might be dangerous.
This be dangerous, right? Let's get dangerous on here.
Right.
So, I'm going to say, behold.
The green and gold, man.
All day. What it do? So, let's try this one. This one will be a little bit harder. You might not want to let the world know about this one. On that theme of gold fronts.
Oh, man. Well, shoot, man. The first thing that cut in my mind is that's who I was at Norfolk State, floating around Brown Hall, man. I was known as Dave with the gold fronts, man, because I had the whole bottom. The whole bottom just locked in, man. I was walking around. That was the thing back then. The young boys think that's new.
They think it's new. They don't know we started it. You know what I'm saying?
Grills.
The grills.
Man. I had the gold fronts back in early 90s, man. Killing them.
Killing the game. Killing the game. Yeah. Ladies going crazy over the gold front. You know what I'm saying? Who knew? All right. Yeah. That was good. We getting warm. Let me throw something else out there. Mr. Hill. In the game room.
Oh, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, hey, look, man. The student union, the game room, just being in that environment, man, that was everything at Norfolk State.
That was it.
That was
man,
everything.
I tell everybody, like, my mom and dad paid good money for me to learn how to play pool.
Man,
you know
look, and you might come up in that game.
You might, listen, I had a lot of meals paid for with those skills, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hey man, I just want to shout out my boy Rob Selden, man. He used to take people to the bank in that game.
What?
Man. Yes, sir.
What? Yeah. Man, those cats, that was like casino. Yeah. It was like a scene for casino, but everybody's black. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no question.
That was the deal. Last one. Yeah. Get us warmed up. 1906. Anything special happened in 1906?
Hey man, A5A, man, 1906, baby, All
right. Yeah. So we repping. So we got HBCUs, we got Norfolk State, we got the Gold Grills, we got Alpha Phi Alpha. Yeah, last night we did a joint with AKA Nicole Sharp. So we'll check that one out.
Cool.
Your sister.
Cool.
In the game, Divine Nine. But today we're going to get into what it is you do.
Sure.
Where you from? Where you from? Tell us where you from.
Well, man, look, man, I'm from kind of all over, man. So I was actually born in Omaha, Nebraska, man. And, my
Omaha.
mother early on worked for what was then Martin Marietta, which is now morphed into Lockheed Martin.
For sure.
So that took us to Denver, Colorado for a few years, to Houston, Texas, where she met my stepfather. He was in the Army.
Okay.
And from there, we went to Frankfurt, Germany. He was from Virginia Beach, so when he got out of the Army, I spent I like to call it my formative years, my teenage years down in Virginia Beach, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you went to high school?
Yeah, went to high school, went to Bayside High School. I went to junior high, Bayside Junior High. Yeah, man.
Well, we know Oscar Smith is running the game down there right now, so I don't even have to shout out.
But back then,
I can't remember. I can't remember back then. You know what I'm saying? My memory get foggy, man. But Oscar Smith runs that town. So right now, man,
I don't know about
we
that.
We run that town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Shout out to Northridge. That's where I grew up at, and Bayside Arms was right next door.
Yes, sir.
So shout out to all them dudes, man.
Yes, sir. So like after you go to high school, obviously you went to Norfolk State. What made you decide to go to Norfolk State?
Man, actually, I tell people this story all the time, man. So I'm a first generation college student, man.
Oh wow, I didn't realize
nobody
that.
else in my family had went to college. So, all through my early education years, my mom was just saying, I want you to go to college. I want you to go to college. She didn't know how I was gonna get there. She didn't know nothing about how to get me in there or anything like that. She just knew that she wanted me to go to college. So, I did okay in high school. Education came easy for me. I'm a quick learner. Didn't really apply myself a whole lot when I got to the high school years, caught up in, doing things in the neighborhood and trying to be cool, that type of thing. So I graduated, probably had, man, I don't even know what my GPA was, man. But all I know is I graduated.
You graduated.
I accomplished that milestone. And I was on the basketball court with a friend of mine named Al, man, and I was hooping. He said, man, you graduated. What you about to do now? I said, I don't know, man. My mom said I should go to college. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, what school you think about going to? I said, well, don't you go to Norfolk State? He was like, yeah. I said, how is it? He said, man, it's cool. He said, I like it. I said, so what you major in? He said, computer technology.
Oh, wow.
So I shot a jump shot, and said, hey, man, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to Norfolk State, and I'm going to major in computer technology, man. And a couple of months later, man, Norfolk State at that time, was kind of open enrollment.
Yeah.
So, man, literally, like the day before school started, I went to the admissions building and was like, look, I'm here.
I'm here. That's how you apply.
I'm here.
That's how you apply. That's
here,
big.
Man.
That's
and,
big.
Filled out the
That's
application
funny.
And all that stuff, man. But, I'm grateful, man, that they had to open enrollment because my life would have been a lot different if it hadn't been at that point in time, man.
I think my dad used to say Norfolk State made a lot of people lives possible.
Yeah.
Who otherwise would have not had an opportunity. That was their charter, right? We're trying to educate people that otherwise wouldn't have had an opportunity to be educated, right? And that's sort of in the beginning, that's the HBCU value proposition, right? You know, but it's interesting because what that meant at that time when these were being founded was that these people wouldn't be educated because they weren't allowed to read or they weren't allowed to be educated, right?
Exactly.
And so there was a certain hunger to learn how to read and to be educated.
Yeah.
And so the value proposition shifts a little bit once everybody can go anywhere to school.
Right.
You couldn't go to ODU.
Right.
Right. There was no TCC or whatever. You weren't going to UVA.
Right.
So like how else would you have gotten that education?
Exactly.
And so it kind of is interesting that some of us still came through in a generation where that was still part of the process.
That was still possible, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, I talked to my wife. She went to Virginia State. She calls us little state. I'm like, nah, man, y'all dwarf state.
Dwarf state.
We
Exactly.
big state. But anyway, she was like, yeah, well, y'all had open enrollment. And it's a go and joke about it. I was like, yeah, you're right, man. But like you said, if it wasn't for that, man, my life would have been a lot different, man. So I'm thankful for that, man.
Yeah.
The state definitely opened that door, man, for a lot of people in our area, man.
Man, like, how did you, when you were going through that process and you open enrollment, and the thing is, once you open enrollment, it sounds kind of whack or whatever, but then you come on campus, you with everybody else.
Oh, man.
You right? So you open, because I always say it's a funnel. Norfolk State is a funnel.
Yeah.
Real easy to get into.
Right.
hard to get out of.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no
Like,
doubt.
yeah. So it's like, once you get on, now it's time to compete. It's time to like figure it out. And obviously you did that. Talk about like how you competed on campus and what that was like.
Yeah. So, I was a commuter student.
Yeah.
I didn't live on campus. Again, my peoples didn't know anything about what college life was about, any of that. So it was just me through trial and error. So when I get on campus, I'm still kind of caught up in, the trying to be cool and all that stuff and running with dudes from the neighborhood, and trying to get girls and that type of thing.
Right.
So I wasn't really focused like I should be. Nobody was in my ear telling me, hey, man, you in college now, man. This is charting the path for your future. You need to get serious. So, my first semester, man, I got on campus and literally, man, so many women around and so many new people and different, just a whole different environment that I wasn't used to, the freedom and all that stuff.
Right.
I went buck wild, man. Straight up and down, I went buck wild. I even failed gym. Like, I think we had gym as a class, health and PE or something, man, and that you had to take. I even failed that. I failed everything that first semester, man.
Wow.
And so,
was it like, did they have academic probation?
They did because you I had financial aid. You know what I'm saying? Right. First generation, everybody was paying for the school, so it was first, financial aid. So I got that. I got the probation thing that was like, look, you got to get it together. You got to maintain at least, I think it was like a 2.0 or something like that for you to maintain the financial aid that you're receiving. So it's like, oh man, this is serious. You know what I'm saying? So, and not only that, man, I had some events in my personal life that had went down at the same time. Like I said, I was still trying to dabble with, trying to be, like everybody else during that time, man. Yeah. Either you was making money playing basketball or doing these other things, or you was making money doing other things, right? So I was still trying to dabble with some of that type of stuff. And, man, a real significant event, I ain't going to say what happened, but a real significant event actually went down, man, and that changed my life, man, where I had to make a decision as to if I'm going to try to be something that I'm not on the street side,
right?
I got to live like that,
and
you
got to be
honestly, I won't built for that, you know what I'm saying? I'll tell you straight, I'm not built for that, you know what I'm saying? So I made a decision. I was like, look, man, I'm not going to do that. This computer stuff, I see it's catching on. It's the wave of the future. So I got to get serious and buckle down and make this thing work because it was my only ticket out.
Right.
Me, man. The education was the only route.
Man, I had that same vibe. Like I remember I would be in a library, and you remember, I don't know, you might not even remember, they used to have a 24-hour room because the library would close.
Yeah.
Right? So they had a 24-hour room, but the joint had no heat and no AC and a big-ass window, right? Right? Yeah. And so it's like, okay, so you in there, and it was wintertime, and I had back in the day the bubble coat, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm in there with a box of tissues, a calculus book, and my bubble coat, man. Right, just doing homework. Like, I ain't had no computer. I would write my programs by hand on a piece of paper and then go to the computer lab the next day because the computer lab was closed and type them. You know what I'm saying? And, like, just having that lack of resources available to us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you had to figure out still how to succeed with those things. And, like, the grind that you're talking about, like, when you really realize, and that's what I would say. I played tennis all through high school. I'm like, I ain't going pro. I play football. I'm not going to go pro in any of these things. This the only thing I'm going pro in, this math book right here. Man. And you have to just say, this is my only ticket out of the crib.
Yeah.
So, like, that, I know that grind. I know that hustle. Like, how, and then, so now you propel. Like, now you got a vision.
Right.
Now you got a joint. So now you move out of that and just go hard.
Go hard, man. Go hard because there's no other way, man. There's no other way. And, like I said, that event, not only did I decide to, focus on the books, I even had to leave town for a little while, man. So I went and joined the Army Reserve, and left,
life-altering.
Went away to boot camp, came back, you know what I'm saying? Things had cooled down a bit. And it was about the books and how I'm going to get the heck up out of Norfolk, man. You know what I'm saying? How I'm going to get out of Virginia Beach. and start my life over, man. But things happen for a reason, man.
For sure.
So I am absolutely happy that those circumstances went down, man, because it really significantly changed my life.
Man, that's big. Like,
Yeah.
people hear Virginia Beach and they don't think
Yeah.
that stuff like that can go down in Virginia Beach. You know what I mean? I always looked at the beach schools like party and like TV. You know what I mean?
Hey,
like
look, man,
Saved by the Bell. You know what I'm saying?
No, man. What do they say about?
Because when that Bayside and Saved by the Bell, I think the name of
the school name was
Bayside.
Bayside, but they say come on vacation and leave on probation, man. That's what they say about Virginia Beach. And
Wow,
so,
I never even heard that one.
There's a few areas out there, man. You hear your boy Pusha T and all them.
Yeah.
So I I grew up with the cats who was around them cats. One of their managers I grew up with, man, and our area, it can get real, man. Just like any town, though. Man. Every environment's the same, man. So again, not trying to glorify that thing. Like I said, I wasn't built for it.
Yeah.
And I admit it, man. I wasn't. So I got up out of Dodge and changed my life, man.
Man, so like, let's talk about that. Like, so you was in the reserves. Mm-hmm. So did you actually go into the military after you left school?
No, I stayed in the reserves the whole time, man.
Oh,
Did
okay.
10 years in the reserves.
But there was a war.
There was a war. The Iraq War came up, man.
Yeah.
So, I would say for like the first maybe 6 or 7 years, it was peacetime. You know what I'm saying? That I was in. Went in 95,
Okay.
And, so September 11th happened, and then they were shipping people out to Iraq, but still I was in the reserve, so mainly the active duty folks were going, and the reservists would backfill behind those guys. But fortunately, I had never got called up. But around 2003, when my second son was born, I did receive a letter from the Army basically saying, hey, I was in one job where I was doing computer operations, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And they said, yeah, man, due to the needs of the Army, we need to reclassify you to an MP. And at that time, MPs was at the checkpoints, man. And, you had the suicide bombers rolling up, blowing up them joints and all that stuff. Yeah, and it was like, you got to go away for school for 2 years. We're going to send you over there, blah, blah, blah. And they had these things called stopgap windows or whatever, stop loss. And so if you were in the Army, you couldn't get out, at a certain time because, they needed soldiers to go fight the war or whatever. But fortunately for me, man, and this is, man, it's like the repeating theme over my life when I reflect back about it. I had, a higher power kind of guiding me. But fortunately for me, that stop loss window had just closed, and I had did my 10-year contract with the reserves. And I was able to get out, talking with my wife and her, and realizing that I now had 2 sons and a newborn. That wasn't the move, So I decided to get out. Yeah, so fortunately, I never deployed, man. Yeah.
Man, so you got out of reserves.
Yeah, man.
So if you do 10, do you still get paid from that in the future? Or?
No, you gotta do 20, man. You gotta do 20. So I wish, looking back at it, and looking at some of the cats that did do the whole 20 and went to some of the wars and stuff, man. I mean, there's benefits to that as well, man. Not so much fighting the war, but being a veteran, in the industry that I'm in. Sometimes I wish I had stayed in, but again, I had a higher power directing me through, man.
And also, you had some responsibilities.
I had a lot of responsibilities.
That you really didn't need to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean? So respect that. You had to do what you had to do. Yeah. For your kids. So, I mean, like you said, you maneuver, and actually it served a purpose because then as you would get into the industry that you're in right now, it made sense that you had that background. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, how did that help you usher you in the way you are right now?
So at Norfolk State, like I mentioned, I majored in computer technology. And once I got on my grind, I really got on my grind and was doing internships. So the first one, Senator Mark Warner had a program called the Virginia High Tech Partnership, where they were taking students out of HBCUs and placing them in technology jobs in the Northern Virginia, D.C. area.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was my junior year I found out about that through the technology program at Norfolk State, applied, got accepted, and that was my first taste of the Mecca here in Chocolate City, man. I came up. Ooh. Yeah, man.
I know you painted the town.
Doing the internship, man. I was staying on George Mason University. They put us in dorms.
Okay.
And then my job was in Tyson's Corner, man. Yeah, right across the street from the mall, you know.
That's no good.
And it was no good.
I know you ain't saved no money. You know what I'm saying?
Zero, man.
Man.
Yeah, man. George Mason wasn't ready for us HBCU kids either, man. We was running through that joint. But anyway, nah, man. But yeah, so those internships, you know, introduced me to the technology field and even helped focus me even more because once I had that experience, I knew that once I graduated from Norfolk State, I was moving to DC, man.
So, like, talk about how the internship experience, like, that exposure and what that did for you when you went back to school. Like, because you already, sort of the life event focused you, but that's on one side.
Yeah.
Then on the other side, they're telling you the whole time there's opportunity here. That's why you in school.
Right.
The goal is to go do something bigger.
Yeah.
But then you actually see it, and then you go back to school.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Man, it was eye-opening, right? Because, you know, in school you're learning a lot of theory. You know, you're learning basically it. You're not really learning any practical application. And then at that time, the resources at Norfolk State weren't as such where you had the technology right in front of you, where, you know, you were actually building networks and operating systems and doing that type of thing at the time. So to go up there and be in an environment where I was exposed to the technology, I was exposed to the business aspects, how technology supports the business, you know, it just opened my eyes, man, that, you know, really this is a significant and a lucrative career opportunity for me, man.
Right.
I mean, technology's playing a huge role in the business environment, man. So, you know, it's really going to be a good opportunity for me. So that focused me, man, just seeing that. And when I came back to school, it focused me and it kind of turned me off from what I was learning at State at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man,
we behind.
You know, why am I learning about 1970s electronic circuits in a computer technology class, you know?
Right.
Why am I not building networks and that type of thing?
There definitely needs to be more of an industry partnership.
Yeah,
so they're more up to date.
At the time. And I think, you know, from what I've seen, they're evolving into that at this particular point in time. But back then, you know, computers were so new. You know, we were talking about this before the podcast started. You know, we had a computer lab at Norfolk State. You know, probably had 15 computers, and 7 of them were broke. You know, you were standing in line trying to get to them. So it was so new at the time, man, that you know, they just didn't know. They didn't know what they didn't know. So but
it was emerging, right?
It was emerging.
I think what we have to do is imagine a world pre-Google.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We had cell phones, but they were huge and heavy.
Yeah.
Right? But there was certainly no mobile internet.
Right. They weren't smart.
They weren't smart. They were dumb.
They were dumb.
They were dumb. You know, so like I remember the computer lab in the computer science building in Brown Hall, like it closed at 4.
Right.
And I'm like, how you gonna close the computer lab at 4 and 70% of the students here are commuters?
Right.
And probably at least 80% of the commuter students got jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they work at Signature Group or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? You know, I'm working at Farm Fresh bagging groceries and produce clerk, right?
Right.
So how do by the time I leave campus, my last class, go to work and come back, computer, I got an hour. Right? You know, so so I literally had to take a credit card and buy a laptop. So now I'm in debt.
Yeah.
Right? To do my homework. Right? And these are the things that we have to do to survive and thrive in those environments. Yeah. But I think it made us better.
It did, man. It instilled a go-getter type of mentality in us that these kids that just have everything at their fingertips today don't have. Because they don't know how to go out and get it. You know, they're expected to be right in front of you, and then I use it to get what I want out of it.
Right.
But we had to go get it, man.
You had to go get it. You had to make it happen.
Yeah.
So you went and got it, and what you got was a degree.
Yeah.
And it sounds like computer technology is what we would call information technology now.
Yeah, we would call it either information technology or something to that effect.
Right.
You know, not so much even management information systems, but just information technology.
Really the IT piece of it.
Exactly.
Right. And so you moved up here immediately or?
Yeah, so how I ended up here was my senior year. You know, I graduated But I did the internship program again because I didn't have a job opportunity at the time.
Okay.
But again, just that go-getter mentality. I'm going to make it into something, you know.
Right.
So I did another internship in the D.C. area. I was staying with my aunt in her basement at the time.
Wow.
You know, and I while I was on that internship, you know, I was updating the resume. You know, and doing this all on my own, man. You know, updating the resume, you know, doing searches for other resumes and look for keywords, how to structure it and that type of thing to get me an entry-level opportunity. And fortunately for me, when I was on that internship, a company called UUNet, which was a major internet service provider under MCI WorldCom at that time, called. And they were looking for, you know, people to come into this relatively new field that they were standing up around computer security. Wow. They didn't call it cybersecurity back then. It was just computer security back then. And what they were doing, they had what they called a security operations center, where they had a firewall that they had developed themselves called the interlock firewall, I'll never forget. And then they had checkpoint firewalls, but they were managing those firewalls on behalf of some of their internet service provider customers.
Okay.
And it was a 24/7 operation. You know, I came in through a headhunter company. They interviewed me first, put me in front of the folks at UUNet. And, you know, I never forget, man, they asked me a question. And this is how antiquated Norfolk State's computer technology lab was. They asked me, you know, so what do you know about Unix? And, man, I had never heard of Unix.
Really?
Right?
They had they had that in the computer science lab. You had to come upstairs.
See, I was in the computer technology in the tech building. You know,
we
weren't even in the Brown Hall. We weren't even in the Brown Hall. We were in the tech building.
Look, we could just talk about how antiquated the tech building was.
Yeah, man.
Right? I mean, didn't they have a bellman in the elevator for you?
Man, that joint was terrible.
That was terrible,
you know?
back in the day.
So I hadn't even heard of Unix. I was like,
wow.
Look, I was honest with him. I said, look, I don't know it, but I'm willing to learn it, you know?
Right.
And I'm a quick learner, that type of thing. So they gave me an opportunity. And I got in there. Everybody had to be certified on those firewalls that we were managing at the time. And I think that they saw that I was able to really focus and get certified within like a month. You know, because again, you know, I'm focused on...
You hungry.
I'm hungry. I'm focused on trying to make as much money as I can, you know.
Man.
But yeah, so I got that certification, and that was the launch point, man, into cybersecurity for me, man.
Wow, like, but I love the hustle because, like you said, I'm majoring in computer technology, but I'm not gonna get into that because the money is over.
Man, look,
in
the 90s, you know, it was all about the money, man, for us, man. You know, we didn't care how we was gonna make it.
You didn't know how you was gonna make it.
We didn't know how we was gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know, and we had a couple of different paths you could take. You know, either you was playing ball, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. He was hustling.
Yeah.
You know, those are only two
ways. Those are your paths.
That was it, man.
And those are the paths that's presented, right? My parents, it was never a thought of what was gonna happen after high school.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It was like, okay, I just thought that's what everybody do after high school. You go to college, right? Yeah. And then they threatened me. The reason why I asked that question is because my parents would threaten me with the military.
Oh, okay.
If you don't go to college, you going to the military, but you leaving, right?
That's how I am with my kids now. I don't know what you're going to do. When you turn 18, you going to go to college or the military. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
So I feel like that's just the fact that you jumped into that. And nobody pushed you into it like your parents. Yeah. How did that look around the hood, around the family, around the house?
Yeah, where I was from, you know, again, I grew up in Northridge. Man, I tell my wife this story all the time. I could probably, of the guys I grew up with, I can count on one hand how many dudes actually graduated from high school.
Whoa.
Straight up, man. Straight up, you know. You know, folks were going to the alternative schools because they was, you know, it wasn't so much a gang, but you had the neighborhood beast, you know, so we had our neighborhood against another neighborhood, and, you know, I wasn't born into the neighborhood. I was kind of moved in after the fact.
Right.
And so I was somewhat trying to roll with that crowd, but really knew that I didn't really fit into the crowd.
Yeah.
And I was trying to move like that. But, yeah, like I said, you know, that just wasn't me. You know, so yeah, man, it was a whole different environment. And then you didn't have parents pushing you saying, yeah, you're going to go. My mom said you're going to go to college. She didn't know how I was going to get there, any of that stuff. So we didn't have a plan or anything. So, yeah, once you graduate high school, you was getting a job. Down there being a longshoreman is the big thing.
That's a big deal.
I want to be on, I want to work on the pier. Or the Ford plant had just opened up
plant.
back then. You
and then while we was there, they had the Range Rover.
they
would start doing the Range Rovers in the Ford plant. So that was big.
So that was it, man.
It was
and it was
money.
a big military town, though.
Sure.
So some folks went into the military. But, yeah, man, it was really no plan for college and that type of thing amongst the guys that I grew up with,
But one thing was for sure, you was gonna get money, and
that was it.
That's dope. And so you moved up here, got the job. You talked your way into this job, this UUNet job, and that actually presents you the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then the hunger again gets you the certification like real fast.
Yeah. And,
was that normal, or other people was taking a while?
Well, the time frame in which I got it was faster than most of the other folks.
Wow.
One important aspect we left out, and like I told you offline here, is that I had a kid at the early age. Well, it wasn't so much an early age. That was my graduation present from Norfolk State.
Right.
I had a kid. And that was extra motivation for me as well. So,
Right.
it was all about getting money so I could, provide for him, and then also still try to live a lifestyle that I wanted to live,
So it's easy to get lifestyle oriented up in the DC area, man.
Oh man, and that's what was perpetuated back there for us. You had Diddy and all them hopping around, and, Jay-Z and all them talking about getting money. So getting money was our mentality, man.
Everything was about getting money. It was in the music. It was everywhere you went. It was culture.
That's it.
It was culture. And before you was getting the bag, it was getting money.
That's it.
Right?
Get money.
And so, but you was getting money a different way, like professionally. And so, how long did you stay with UUNet?
I probably was with UUNet not even like 8 months. Because look, man, again, I was motivated by the money, right? So I knew that once I got this certification, that my value went up. So I always knew my value, right? And so,
listen, I always knew my value.
Man.
Oh, that's good. It's getting good.
As soon as I got that certification, man, I updated the resume, and it's like fishing, man. Cybersecurity wasn't. There wasn't so many people in the industry back then, right? It was kind of just starting out, and so I updated the resume, put those certifications out there. It was like fishing through the resume out there and seeing what bites, And I got a bite from this company called PG&E, National Energy Group. So Pacific Gas and Electric was a California utility company. Okay. But they had an energy trading division that was based out of here in Bethesda back then. And that whole industry went kaput when Enron thing went down. Yeah. But so they gave me an opportunity. It was probably about a $20,000 increase in salary. So,
now, was a security clearance involved at this time?
No security clearance. This was a commercial entity. Wow. Man, I jumped up on that thing, man.
20 grand is 20 grand.
Interviewed, got the extra $20K, and I was a firewall administrator / network engineer for PG&E National Energy Group. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I saw that, on your LinkedIn, I saw the guy gave you a recommendation or a shout out, and I was like, oh, hey, I know. So it's like a lot to dig into because this is what we're talking about here is we're building a career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And just going through the path of you gave me an opportunity. Yeah. I learned something. I gave you 8 months of my time. Yeah. But I actually know my value. Yeah. And then you got it. Yep. Right? And so you go out and get it. And so you there at PG&E for how long?
I stayed there probably about three years maybe.
All right.
So
what year are we talking about now? What is?
Man, this had to be 2000, 2001. Okay. Yeah, around that time.
Yeah, so that is Enron time frame.
Yeah.
Right.
And I never forget, working at PG&E, it was the tallest building, 7500 Old Georgetown in Bethesda, but September 11th happened. While I was at work, man. Yeah, man. And the plane that had hit the World Trade and the plane that hit the Pentagon, and that other plane was in the air circling, and they didn't know where it was going to hit. So they was telling us to get out of the building, man. So yeah, that was another interesting point. But yeah, man. So I was at PG&E, for about 3-4 years. While I was there, I stayed on the grind, right? Because when you're in IT or even cybersecurity, it's all about the certifications. The certifications, make you more marketable,
Right.
right, and increase your worth. So while I was there, I also got the Cisco certification, CCNA,
Right.
Cisco Certified Network Administrator. Knocked that out. Was working towards my CCNP, which was a higher up certification.
Network professional. Cisco Certified Network Professional. Yeah.
So I had those two, along with the security certification. I was learning different technologies because there I was solely responsible for security. So
Were you the only one?
Yeah, I was the only guy. So implementing firewalls, implemented the first IDS system that I was aware of, which was ISS Real Secure way back then. This was early 2000s again. Deployed that in the environment. We started deploying technologies like content filtering for web surfing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that was very interesting. We used to catch guys surfing crazy stuff on the internet,
At
blocking
work,
sites, and
at
stuff.
work.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that was a big deal. That was actually a really big deal
a big
at that
deal.
time. Like the internet was just coming on.
It was coming along. The first virus I encountered there was the love bug virus. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was like an email virus that came in, and you open up an email that said "I love you" or something like that, and once you opened it, it just flooded your whole email system. So we dealt with that there. Man. So this was early 2000s, the beginnings of the whole cybersecurity industry, man.
That's the beginning, right? And what's interesting is now it's really important that you left UUNet because you mentioned the parent company was MCI WorldCom.
MCI WorldCom.
And what happened with MCI WorldCom in that same time frame?
Tanked.
Right. So you got in, got out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a semester later coming up here, you're done.
I'm done.
That opportunity doesn't even exist.
Doesn't even exist. Same thing with PG&E, man.
So exactly.
Man,
Timing
like I
is
said,
everything.
man, if you look back at my life, man, you could clearly say that there's been some direction from a higher authority.
Clearly.
And I
how much does
always
faith
recognize
play a role in the decisions that you make and how you roll?
It really, like, I wouldn't say that I'm the most religious or spiritual. Yeah, it would be religious, disciplined guy in my religion, right, or in my spirituality. I am a spiritual guy because I was, raised. My mom was in the church and all that other stuff, man. But I'm not the most disciplined with it. So those decisions, it's just my intuition telling me to move, man.
Right.
So being directed, right.
Right.
So yeah, man, the same thing happened with PG&E because another year later, I had already moved on. I saw that the .com bubble was out there, and so there were opportunities for me to move with the certifications that I had. So I jumped on the opportunity and moved. Yeah. But it was good that I did because the whole Enron scandal went down, and that whole industry
blew up.
Man.
So where'd you go from PG&E?
So from PG&E, I went to a startup. What were they called? They were doing.
So you didn't have any shame. There was like if it was bread involved.
Oh, look, man. In the IT industry, it's still like that to this day, man. And a lot of folks, they get their certifications, they hop around, they move up. Because it's just that much of a demand for professionals, right?
Gotcha.
In the field, but yeah. So what I was doing wasn't uncommon at the time.
But even to go to because you could have easily said, I mean, there's huge companies out here in the DMV. You could have gone to Lockheed Martin or any of those guys that.
Well, I didn't know about any of that stuff at the time. I'm just grinding, man. I'm just getting certifications and knowing that I can make more money because I got the certification. And I'm putting my resume out there and seeing what bites. And I'm looking at the writing on the wall at this company and saying, I could be doing better. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just hopping around, and the first company that bites, that's offering more money, I'm out. So the company I went to was. They were doing the cameras on the freeway at the time. I forget what they were called, but
speed cameras or
no, the just the video cameras that you
what
can
did they
monitor.
do? I didn't realize.
Yeah, so that you could just monitor the cameras. They were putting them in stores and all the stuff. But needless to say, that startup kind of tanked, and I got a call from this other company that had a contract at the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda.
So you living in Maryland at that time, or you?
Yeah, I had
commuting?
moved to Maryland.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when I was at UUNet, I was living with my aunt still in her basement in Manassas. Man, it's terrible. No, Dumfries. Dumfries is where she lived.
Yeah.
I bought me a condo in Largo, man.
Oh,
Largo, yeah. So I moved there. And that I was making that commute from Largo to Bethesda.
Is
which
this
was still a
this was
beast.
before the theaters?
Yeah, this was before all that, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and in fact, I was in that condominium that's right across the street from where they built the metro.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you got paid for that one.
Yeah.
You came up.
At the same time. I was flipping my properties, right, and moving up,
Yeah.
But yeah, so went to National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda. Same thing, man, just grinding. And then I think where my career really took off was from there. I got a call from PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Oh wow.
Right, so that's one of
That
your
was
big
one of
four,
the big four. Yeah.
your big four firms, accounting firms back then. But I was called to work in their threat and vulnerability management division. So doing cybersecurity consulting for Fortune 500 companies at that particular time. And they liked the experience that I brought to the table because not only did I have the cybersecurity, but I had the networking background and I had the industry experience to go along with it. If you know anything about those big fours, they typically hire, folks out of, your Floridas and, your big universities out there, and they fresh out of school and, they send these guys out to their clients, right?
Right.
Don't really know what they're talking about. But I had the practical.
Because even at the big schools, they still just getting theory.
They just getting theory, man.
Right.
So I had the experience, and that's where my career really took off, man. Working. My first client was Comcast.
Oh wow.
And I was all over the country, man. Doing.
But so now you transitioned because now, what I love about the story is you weren't just boom, get a cert, I'm out.
Yeah.
It was get a cert and implement the experience associated with the cert.
Yeah.
And then get out. Like, it wasn't just I got some letters.
Right.
Because eventually you can take that route and you can start getting paid, but eventually you'll get in a situation where you don't really have the experience to match the pay that you're getting.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
I'm a perfectionist, right?
Gotcha.
And I never want to be put in a situation where I don't know what I'm talking about. I never want to look like a fool in front of anybody. So,
right.
I did have a lot of friends who were just getting the certs and didn't know what they were talking about, and they were hopping around and lying on their resume and stuff. But I didn't. I'm not the type of guy to get in a situation where you're gonna make me look like a fool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just wasn't that type of guy. So yeah, I made a point to definitely learn the practical skills along with the knowledge from the certifications, et cetera.
So, all right. So like, the consulting is a big part. That's a big pivot.
Yeah,
because now you're learning to go into different organizations and do your tasks. That's huge. Absolutely. And that's going to take you to the next level. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was game changing because I went from, just dealing with IT folks to now being in front of CIOs. Here again, this kid, from Virginia Beach, from the hood, you know. Now I'm polishing up and I'm Dave Gregory. I'm changing up the way I'm talking and this
David
and that.
K. Gregory the second.
David K. Gregory the second. And I'm in here talking to the associate CIO at Comcast about how to strengthen security in a specific area.
Wow, that's big.
Or I did an engagement for like Tropicana in New Jersey. Right. Wow. And I'm up there telling them how to, harden their network infrastructure. Right. Large companies, I'm in front of CIOs talking to these guys, man. And that was a whole different ball game because it showed me how to move around that level of individual.
Yeah. How was that for you? Was it a natural fit? How was that transition?
I would say I was a little nervous at first, but again, because of the fact that I'm a perfectionist, right? I was still comfortable. So, when I knew that I had to give that briefing, I knew what I was talking about. I knew my stuff.
Right.
So when I came in, whatever I was telling you was backed by factual evidence and industry experience. Yeah. And this is best practice, right? Because I've seen it in these different environments, and this is how it works. So I was very comfortable in front of these guys talking about that. And again, cybersecurity was relatively in its infancy at that time. So they were looking to me for that knowledge, So I was pretty comfortable, man.
That's good. That's what's up. Yeah. So now you're consulting. At what point do you say, okay, I'm going back to the smaller, because you're dealing with PwC is huge, right?
It's huge.
So like, how was that working for a large company? You've been with small company.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, so, how did that fit work?
My wife didn't like PwC.
You working a lot of hours.
Because you work a lot of hours, you travel. I was all over the country. You know, I'm texting her. I'm up in the Four Seasons because I got in so good with my Comcast customer, man, that we were cool. And he knew I was working a lot of hours. So he would be like, man, you know, take your wife out to dinner. It's on us. You know, we'd be going having $600-$700 dinners, man, on Comcast, right? And this is the commercial world, so you can do that,
You can
right?
do that, right?
You know, when they're flying me out, I'm staying in Beverly Hills. I'm staying in the Four Seasons. I'm staying in all this. I'm sending my wife pictures like, hey, I'm chilling in the hotel. Needless to say, she at home with the baby. She like, look.
Don't send me no more pictures.
No, this ain't working. You know what I'm saying? So I had to change up, man, and get a new job, man, because she was like, you traveling all around. I'm stuck here raising a kid. You living it up, you know?
You living it up. You living it up, working 70 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was honestly, man, I think at the time, and I think this is factual, I was the highest paid senior consultant in my office at PwC.
Oh, wow.
Because of my experience and all of that stuff, man. So again, I put my resume out there looking for another opportunity, and I got a bite from a small company. I did a little stint at what was it? I think it was Citywide IT in DC or something like that, being an IDS specialist or something like that.
Okay.
And I didn't like it because I was used to the PwC thing, the consulting and all this, and here I was going back to just sitting in a chair and being
same place every day,
administrator.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And I had formed a connection with my boy Rashad Stewart. He left PwC, and I think he went to Booz Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me and said, hey, man, we're looking to hire some folks over here. What do you think about coming to Booz? So he pulled me into Booz Allen.
Gotcha.
So then it was consulting again, but
Right.
it was local because it was federal government
Right.
consulting. Yeah.
All right. Now that's the connect. That's the plug right there.
That's the plug.
Yeah.
That
And
was
it's good
awesome.
because now you have your military experience.
Yeah.
It's gonna come into play because they love to see
Yeah.
that you have that reservist background in that space.
So
Were you DOD or
No, I was doing a Fed civilian at
Okay.
the time. So DHS was one of their target markets, and Treasury IRS was the other market. And so that's significant too.
Yeah.
So Booz was the plug. I learned so much from Booz, from writing proposals to hunting opportunities to just being a professional and how you shape capabilities and define your services. I mean, all that. Booz was a meal. Now, they worked the mess out of you, too. You
for sure.
worked a significant amount of hours, but I learned so much from Booz Allen, man, that really positioned me for where I am today.
Well, where are you today? Like, talk about APTNEXUS, how you got in. When did you say, like, because one thing about it is you definitely have said you're directed, like you having the intuition, but not only, like, do you have, like, the faith, but you also have courage to step out.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's really important, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you can believe this, but if you don't actually do anything, you know what I mean? Like, that's big. And so you obviously willing to get to that bag. I think that's
no doubt.
that's the theme here is
That
get
was
to the
it.
bag.
That
Get
was
to the
it.
bag. So, like, now you flipping. Now your way to the bag is ownership.
Yep.
And when did you decide that was the thing to do?
At Booz, I still wasn't ready to own at that time. I had it in me, but I still wasn't ready.
Is this when you're going back to UMUC for the MBA, or?
I went back and got my MBA at UMUC, and that's actually when I pledged to Alpha Phi Alpha. I was didn't know nothing about Greek life either when I was in undergrad. My wife introduced me to that, and so I did some research into the different organizations.
And your wife is?
She's a Delta.
She's a Delta, okay.
Yeah, Alpha Eta, 2002.
Oh, wow.
Up at Virginia State. But yeah, so I pledged while I was in grad school. But yeah, I still wasn't ready to go out and do ownership at the time. I went to the IRS for a while. So I was the type of guy where I wanted to get as much industry experience as I could. So
Perfectionist.
I got the ISP. I got from PG&E. I got the commercial experience from PwC. I got some federal government experience from Booz Allen. I wanted to go into the government, so I went and worked actually at the IRS.
Wait a minute. So you were actually a GS employee?
Yeah, I was actually a GS employee.
Wow.
Around
Now, that takes a
2000.
while to get. How did you?
So IRS was my customer, right?
And they flipped you?
Yeah, they flipped me. They flipped me. They were looking to hire some folks and bringing some knowledgeable folks into the federal government, because you know how those guys are.
Yeah.
we ain't
even get into that.
Yeah. So I went and
Everybody
worked
gotta eat.
there, but I climbed the ladder really quickly in there too, and became the associate director of the Security Program Management Office for the second largest division in IRS.
Oh, wow.
And so once I achieved that, I still had a team of GS people underneath me, man, and that wasn't for me, man.
Yeah.
Just dealing with that whole
That whole
different host
scene.
of problems.
Yeah.
So at that point, this was around 2011, 2012, I had decided to start my own company. So I went and got incorporated, all that stuff, and was getting ready to step out and start my own thing. But then I got introduced to my guy, Steve Covey, who was also a Booz Allen alum. And he had already had a 8A started called True Information Assurance. And he convinced me to come over and work with him, help him out on building his company. And so I went there and put my dream on hold for a little while I helped him build his company.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So how did that feel? Like you had just gotten the bug. Like how did that feel? Just like kind of putting your thing on.
You know, I always wanted to have my own thing. I let him convince me that it would be easier for me to work with him because he already had the foundation set. And it's true. It was true. It was. And then he had some things that I was able to gain from his company that I didn't have yet, which was a security clearance, because I was going to be able to start working in the DoD environment. And again, I wanted to be well-rounded. So, I had the Fed civilian. I didn't have DoD experience. So I said, well, this is an opportunity for me to get in and learn how the Department of Defense does cybersecurity. So it made sense for me to go over to TrueIA at the time and get the security clearance and work in them environments. And it worked out, man. He was just starting out at the time. I think at our peak at TrueIA, we got up to about 15 mil.
Okay.
Which is pretty good for a small company.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Did you have any ownership stake? Because you were building it from scratch, right? So
yeah, we were building it from scratch. So the way it was set up is that the opportunities that I bought in, I got a percentage.
Gotcha.
Which was quite lucrative for me as well. So, he owned it, but anything that I touched, that I bought in, helped shape, et cetera, was I got a piece of that.
Right.
So that worked out for me. But yeah, so in there
That's
I
fair.
got DoD experience, I got Intel experience, got some more commercial experience. So it really helped
Rounded
make me
out.
very well rounded.
Yeah.
And so September of last year, I said to myself, all right, it's my time.
Time to eat.
I've helped you. I've done all I can do. So now it's time to concentrate on APTNEXUS. So APTNEXUS was actually founded in 2012. But September 2017 is when I just really started concentrating on really getting it off the ground.
So just for the last year then, really,
Yeah.
you've been doing that. So are the contracts that you're working now your contracts through APTNEXUS or
Yep.
So how did you get those contracts?
So the great part about the path that I took is that, when you're in the services industry, especially around cybersecurity and you're doing consulting, it's all about connections. Relationships and connections, right?
Yeah.
So, people get familiar with your capability and they don't care who you're with. They want you because they know that you can deliver what it is that they're looking for.
That's really important because we need to touch really, on how you, and you're a small startup, government services company, a contract and consultant, however you want to, shape yourself, market yourself. Like, how do you transition from being a solo guy to having people work for you?
Yeah.
And because, like you just said, they want you.
Yeah.
Right? So they bring you in.
Yeah,
but
man.
how do you grow from there? That's a challenge.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It's a significant challenge, man, because people want your capability, but you have to be able to convince people that the people that you're bringing are the same caliber of individual that you are. Right.
And was that difficult or?
It's still it's a challenge. It's an ongoing challenge because, like I said earlier, there are people who go out and just get certifications and don't really take the time to make themselves a well-rounded practitioner.
It's a challenge on both sides.
It's a challenge on both sides.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I typically try to surround myself with people that I've worked with in the past that I know that can deliver.
Right.
And I utilize them as my resources to help me deliver to my clients. But initially, to get the foot in the door, right now, it's me.
Yeah.
It's me. I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm getting in there. I'm showing them what I can do. And then they say, okay, well, we believe in you. You know, we're willing to take a gamble on, you know, some of your employees at this particular point in time. So making sure that I can, you know, they can trust that the professionals that I'm bringing in are of the same caliber that I am.
Now, in this space, it's important to know, like, it's like prime contractors and there's subcontractors. And you mentioned the 8A certification. What's that about, and how is that related to the prime and sub?
Yeah. So, well, when you're first starting out, the majority of your opportunities might be subcontract opportunities. So you're working for another company that has the direct relationship with a particular customer. Right. So yeah, the majority of my contracts are subcontracts at this particular point in time, but I do have a couple of prime contracts as well.
Even without the 8A?
Even without the 8A, because the 8A certification is the Small Business Administration's Section 8A. It's a small business development program.
Right.
So it's created to assist small businesses in developing by enabling them to compete for contracts that have been set aside by the federal government for small businesses. Right. So it's
important to know that the federal government, small business is a loaded term in the federal government space, right? Because a small business could be a $15 million business.
Well,
depending on what your next code is.
To get into the program, your net worth has to be under a certain dollar amount. So you can't be a multimillionaire and then come in and say, I'm going to get in. So it's for
personal,
small, disadvantaged businesses,
exactly.
Right? So, and disadvantage could be your ethnicity, could be your gender, whatever, right? So yeah, your personal net worth has to be below a certain dollar amount. Right. So it is truly for small businesses. But
once you're in the program,
you can grow. And you can even grow out of the program. A lot of people do that.
Right.
But yeah, you know, their whole purpose, and a lot of people get this confused. They think that the whole purpose of the program is for you to do business with the federal government. That's not it, right? The federal government has set aside small business opportunities for you to do business with them, but it's to give you that business experience. But they want you to graduate out of the program, so you're not just doing business with the federal government. You know, you're doing business within your industry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's the goal of the program, to graduate you out of, you know, needing these 8A set aside contracts, right? But a lot of people get caught up in being so short-sighted that they're only going to deal with the federal government and they don't survive.
So do you have customers now outside of the federal government?
That's the great thing about the path that I took, you know, dealing with commercial industry and the federal government from all different aspects of the federal government, civilian, DOD, intel, you know, different segments within there. You know, the different markets are the different departments, and I've dealt with a lot of them as well. But yeah, so I have commercial and government contracts right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. So, you know, in fact, I was just having lunch with one of my guys, and you know, we had a conversation of, do we even need the 8A contract, the 8A vehicle right now, you know? But yeah, I mean, it's something that is beneficial as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, like, how do you set up your different revenue streams in this space? Because it's kind of like, you're kind of doing the same thing, but you're doing it for different clients.
Right.
So like,
so the different markets might be, you know, whether it's commercial or DOD or excuse me, or federal government.
Right.
And then even within the commercial space and the federal government, there's different industries, right? So you could set up, you know, depending on how granular you want to get, you can set up a revenue stream simply around banking industry, or utilities, or that type of thing. I haven't gotten that sophisticated yet. I have commercial and federal government, right?
So your main two is commercial versus federal government, right?
Commercial and federal government.
Two practices,
yeah,
right?
But, you know, like Booz Allen, even in the federal government, you know, you had people concentrated on DHS, you had people concentrated on Treasury, you had people concentrated, you know.
And then other than that, it's like information security. It's like, it's all different types of things they get into.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
capabilities.
my primary, you know, capability is cybersecurity services. And then when you say cybersecurity, it's huge. There's many domains under cybersecurity as well. I concentrate on governance, risk, and compliance.
Gotcha.
Right. So governance, risk, and compliance is configuring or standing up a security program by which all the different aspects of security are managed. Right. So you have, you know, your security engineering, you have your network defense, you have your security operations. You know, you have all these different aspects, but they have to be managed by a program. And then when you're dealing with certain industries and with the federal government, they have to be compliant with some regulatory requirements. So what I do is help them stand up programs to ensure that they're compliant and meeting those regulatory, you know, requirements.
So that's like a big deal. So how do you differentiate yourself? Why does why should a company come to your organization?
So again, you know, the path I took differentiates me from others. Like you get some organizations that only focus on specific industry segments, you know, or they're going to win the work based off of their name and reputation if they're a large company, but then they're going to put some folks out there who don't have the experience to actually deliver the services that they sold to you. So how I differentiate myself is my background, right? You name an industry, I've been in it, right? And I've done cyber from the ground up. I started off as an engineer, right, on the firewalls and IDS and all that stuff, and had the networking background. And I've been able to leverage that to give, you know, practical solutions to my customers. I can translate what that regulatory requirement means in terms that your engineers and analysts and administrators can understand and really design a practical program for you. And then in addition to that, you know, I have the ability to talk to the C-suite as well. So not only can I talk to your administrators and help them understand what they need to do, but I can go into the C-suite and I can help them understand the value of what you're doing, realize return on investment for what you're doing, develop metrics to tell if you're being effective in what you're doing. So I have that capability, which really differentiates me.
Man, like, so that's really dope. Like, just real quick, talk about like versatility, because that's the word I hear when you're saying all these things, like versatility when it comes to getting to the bag.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get to the bag and you're a one-trick pony, you know what I'm saying? Like,
you're done, man. You're done, man. I mean, you know, you might get a bag, you might get two, but, you know, 3 years from now, you know, it's going to run out, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to constantly reinvent yourself, you know, and you have to constantly strive to enhance your knowledge. Like this industry changes
fast
every minute, right? There's new technologies coming out. There's new ways that people are trying to hack you. There's new regulations coming out. So you have to stay abreast of all that, right? So you have to put in the work, man. There's no shortcutting it, right? You can get that cert and you can live off of that for a minute, but you're going to get exposed, right? So you got to constantly be reinventing yourself, and you got to be constantly evolving. Like you can't stay at one level and think that that's going to suffice, right? If you want to, you know, be successful in this industry, you know, like I said, you have to start off as an administrator, you know, then learn the compliance aspects and you know, all these other things, and then learn how to talk to the C-suite. That's if you want to progress through the industry. I have some people that I know that are perfectly fine with just being an administrator and making about, you know, $75,000 a year. That might be cool for them. But, you know, like we talked about earlier, for our generation, it's about getting to that bag, man. You know, if you want to get to that bag, you got to move up.
You got to move up. And you're going to take on some licks and some responsibilities with that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so how do you measure, like, besides the bag, right? That's obvious, right? But, like, how do you measure success? Because I was reading this on you said you're about risk, and it's interesting. We were being a proposal, and I was doing some research, and I came across this amazing quote, and it said, when a risk professional is doing their job and they're successful, nobody is talking. You don't hear anything about it.
Right.
That's success for risk. Right. It's only unsuccessful in risk when somebody has done a breach. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that makes it really difficult to measure success because you don't know if you're not hearing anything. So it's a number of days without a compromise, or what's success in this industry? What does that
So
look
that's
like?
where the versatility comes into play and being well-rounded, because success for one organization is not success for another.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what that means. So if I'm in the banking industry, my risk and what's important to me is completely different from the DoD.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
You know, if I'm in banking, I want to make sure that the integrity of my numbers is correct. You know, that it really is centralized around those banking systems, right?
Right.
If I'm in DoD, I want to make sure that my mission, whatever mission that I'm carrying out, you know, my soldiers are safe, right? And that my mission remains confidential and classified, and people don't get that, right? You know, so you have to be able to tailor a risk management program for that particular customer that you're dealing with. You have to be able to identify, you know, what's important to that particular customer. And what we call it is defining a risk appetite based off of what's important for that customer. And then that means how much risk they're willing to take on. And from a operation of IT perspective, how much risk am I willing to accept by operating this IT, you know,
Okay,
to
so
make
certain
sure.
decisions open us up to certain
Exactly.
vulnerabilities.
And then in addition to that, it's called risk tolerance, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
then once I know my risk appetite, how much risk am I willing to accept, you know, from the operation of this particular system or systems?
So then you have to be
protecting that data.
well versed in the systems that they're operating as well.
Yeah,
Because
right.
you got to
right.
know what type of risk they're exposed to by
Right.
making that choice.
But so to differentiate yourself from your competition, you have to be well versed in that industry. You have to be well versed in that customer. You have to understand their mission, business objectives, strategic, you know, goals, how they plan to get to their bag, right? What's
Right.
important to them,
Right.
right? And then understand the underlying systems that make that happen, right? And then understand, all right, who's interested in what you have to offer and why, and then how are they going?
How might they attack you?
How are they going to attack you?
Right.
And then that shapes where I invest my cybersecurity dollars to give me the most return on my investment to protect that information. Yeah.
So like internally, that's an awesome explanation. How the external, like how do you measure risk for APTNEXUS? I mean, measure success. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, revenue at this particular point in time. Right. You know, I have some targets that I have in mind right now. Again, since just starting out and really refocusing in 2017, I'm probably on track. You know, and it's small potatoes right now. I'm definitely on track for about 300K this year.
Right.
Right. And that's just me.
That's just you.
That's just me. Right. But once I get into the 8A program,
that's a different game.
right? It's a different ball game. So, you know,
You have it because now you have a different value proposition to larger companies.
to larger companies and the government itself.
Right.
So, you know, my 3-year target is $5 million, right?
Gotcha.
And that's easily obtainable through 1 or 2 contracts, right?
Right.
When you're dealing with that.
Especially if you're the prime, right?
Right. So, you know, you're looking at, you know, even over multiplying the revenue right now, you know, multiple times to get to that mark within 3 years. And then beyond that, you know, I have a target of, you know, 20 million, right?
Gotcha.
But yeah, so success is being gauged off of the revenue that I'm generating within the company. Right
Surely,
now. And
surely,
the
yeah.
profit margins.
Yeah, the profit margins. But like, are there any indicators that let you know you're on target for those besides, you know, just the bank account going up, right? Like, what are the things like number of conferences you attend? Is that kind of correlated with like?
So it is the customers, right, and the leads. I mean, it's just like any other like sales business.
Yeah.
Right. You have a market strategy, so you have some markets that you want to you know focus on.
Okay.
Right. You know, and so even under just commercial and federal, right, I have some very specific targets underneath, you know, those particular areas that I want to hit. Right. So you define those, And then you look at, okay, well, how many opportunities do I want to bring in to get me to that $3 million mark?
Right.
You know, how many leads do I have to have? How valuable do each of those opportunities have to be?
Right.
You know, that type of thing. So you shape out the plan based off of that. So it
Yeah.
is very specific.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't willy-nilly, you know, come into this and say, yeah, I just want to make some money. You know, if you want to be successful,
Right.
you know, you definitely have to plan it out.
For sure. Like, so if I'm a student, right now it's August, and there's some students that are just hitting the campus, right? You've seen all the posts. You know what I mean? Every HBCU has a different way to bring their kids to campus for the first week, right? And freshmen, like, what would you tell a freshman that's just coming into campus right now?
And if they wanted to get into cyber?
Yeah, let's say.
Yeah, so say
Norfolk State is big into cyber.
Right,
Shout out to their
right,
movement.
Right.
Like,
I would say that, man, cyber is huge, right? So figure out a particular domain or discipline under the cyber umbrella that you want to specialize in.
okay.
Right? And then in addition to that, I would say get you just an IT specialization and layer the cyber piece on top of that. Because you know, the foundation is the IT. So what was an enabler for me was being able to gain that networking background, right? Because I learned how data got from point A to point B.
Gotcha.
Right, utilizing different network technologies, and that's foundational in the IT environment. So once you understood that, and you were able to layer cyber on top of that, and then concentrate on a specific, you know, functional area of specialization under that, you know, you learn that and become an expert, and then you branch off from there, right, and then continually evolve yourself. So I would say, you know, pick a domain, right, and learn as much as you can, and then pick an IT specialization, whether it's Unix, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's networking, you know, one of those foundational competencies on, you know, operating systems or networking, whatever. Focus on that, learn the insides and out, and then layer the cyber component on top of that, because that'll make you a more well-rounded professional.
Wow. That's the game. Like, that's a game plan for getting to the bag, yo. Yeah. Well, shout out your company name again and the website and everything you're doing.
APTNEXUS is the name of the company. I'm still, that's one of the downfalls of being the darn perfectionist that I am, is I haven't kicked off the website. But for information about the company, you can always email me at info@aptnexus.com. But yeah, that's it, man.
That's it, man. Great interview, man. Thanks for coming out, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. All right, brother.
All right, man. All right.